As a disclaimer, footage in this video was recorded on the creator beta server and is subject to change. For the majority of players, Burnice might just be the easiest character to skip since the release of Zenless Zone Zero. While she's certainly very strong and the first of her kind, her niche role may be enough to stop some free-to-play players from picking her up. What's going on, guys? Hexadaze here, and welcome to another Zenless Zone Zero video. In today's video, we're going to be doing an honest review of Burnice ahead of her release on October 16th. After a brief introduction to the most important parts of her kit, we're going to be rating Burnice in 5 categories, including free-to-play friendliness, versatility, investment required, general strength, and fun factor, which is obviously the most subjective, but hey, it's my channel after all. Let me know down in the comments if you guys like this format of this video, and we'll keep it going for future character releases. Finally, if you guys find this video helpful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year. With that out of the way, let's get into the content. Burnice's kit is focused around doing fire damage with her flamethrowers, inflicting the fire attribute anomaly burn to enemies, and dealing additional off-field fire damage. Burnice is the first true sub-DPS character capable of both dealing off-field fire damage and building up off-field fire anomaly, making her especially powerful in disorder teams with an on-field anomaly DPS such as Jane Doe or Piper. She does this to enemies through a mechanic referred to as Afterburn. When Burnice uses energy with her EX skill, she'll build up the heat resource shown in her meter. Once this meter reaches 50% or greater, she enters what is called the nitro fuel cocktail state, where she can apply the scorch status effect to enemies. Enemies that are inflicted with this scorch status effect will take additional fire damage called afterburn when they're attacked, up to a maximum of every 1.5 seconds. These damage procs will utilize 8 heat per attack until the heat meter is fully drained and their damage scales with Burnice's attack stat. Burnice can apply the scorch status to enemies using her hold normal attack, EX special attack, chain attack, and ultimate skill. Her EX skill lets Burnice yield single or dual flamethrowers to apply fire damage to enemies and will be the most consistent way to apply the scorch status effect while also building the heat meter and applying a large amount of the fire attribute. Burnice has 2 forms of her EX skill, both of which can be held to deal continuous fire damage. The second form is more powerful while also utilizing more energy per second and can be triggered after activating the first EX skill, after a defensive assist, or after a chain attack. While her hold normal attack allows her to apply the scorch status by spinning and applying fire, it also consumes heat, so it's really only optimal when trying to apply the effect to a group of mobs at once. She's got a couple other perks to her kit, but we'll discuss this in the strength section of this video. Now that we've got a basic understanding of how Burnice's kit works, let's break down what makes Burnice worth pulling or not, starting with her free-to-play friendliness. When evaluating free-to-play friendliness, there are 3 main categories that I look at. These include W engine options, how free-to-play friendly a character's better team comps are, and whether a character's kit feels complete at Mindscape Zero. So let's start off with discussing Burnice's W engine options. In Burnice's case, she has quite a few solid W engine options to choose from. Her signature W engine Flamemaker Shaker has an attack percent substat, provides an increase in off-field energy regen of 0.6 per second, increases her damage while off-field, and increases her anomaly proficiency. Overall, this W engine is going to be catering to every part of her kit, but isn't doing anything completely insane. Luckily, Burnice also has a few very solid A rank options to choose from, which is a very nice change of pace from the past 2 new defense characters that we've seen. In all cases we've seen so far, signature W engines do seem to be performing about 15 to 20% better than the other options, so just keep this in mind. First up, we've got the Electro Lip Gloss, which is our Battle Pass W engine. This is going to be comparable to her signature, but isn't going to be providing that off-field energy. She should be able to maintain very high uptime on the passive in a double anomaly team, and overall I think this is her best A rank option. In a close second is going to be the Weeping Gemini. This weapon is going to work really well against your tougher enemies where you really have time to build up those stacks. and she's going to be able to maintain the buff throughout her off-field duration without a problem. Next is going to be the Rainforest Gourmet. This one's not going to be quite as good as the other options. While it will work well with her heat mechanic where she's incentivized to use a lot of energy, she's going to lose this 10-second buff about halfway through her off-field duration, so that's something to keep in mind. And then finally we've got Roaring Ride. While the W engine effects on this one do seem very good, the effect only is going to last for 5 seconds, so it's really too short to be effective for Burnice as she's mostly off field and not using her EX skill. That said, all of these W engines do work, so it's something to keep in mind. If you only got one for now, you can definitely upgrade to a better A rank option in the future. Burnice is clearly built around dealing off-field damage and anomaly application, which means that she's going to want to be paired with another anomaly agent in her best teams. We only have 3 other options as of patch 1.2, which are Piper, Grace, and Jane Doe. Luckily, the 3rd slot in these teams, while it can be filled with Caesar, another limited S-rank agent, can also use Lucy or Seth. Burnice's best team certainly seems to be alongside Jane, but Piper and Grace are certainly decent options, and almost all players should have at least one of these characters available. Piper can act as a Jane Doe replacement agent, but overall her kit will feel more clunky to play. Grace looks to be an overall solid option, and Burnice may actually be what Grace really needs to shine for the first time as an on-field anomaly DPS without a great disorder pairing. Finally, Burnice does not need her Mindscape 1 or 2 to flesh out her kit. While M1 is really nice, increasing the heat meter from 100 to 140, the other effects from both her Mindscape 1 and 2 increase afterburn damage, afterburn anomaly buildup, and pen ratio, which do not substantially change anything about her playstyle. Overall, I'd rate Burnice's free-to-play friendliness about a 4 out of 5. When it comes to overall versatility, she's certainly much more limited than a character like Caesar or Ching-Yi, who can slot into most of the current meta teams at this time. Burnice seems to be specifically designed to be played in a disorder team with another anomaly agent. This significantly limits the number of teams available to her as of patch 1.2 to really just a few. First, we've got Piper, Burnice, and either Lucy or Caesar. Second, we've got Grace, Burnice, and either Seth or Lucy. And third, we've got Jane Doe, Burnice, and either Caesar or Seth. Of course, there's other combinations you can come up with, but these are kind of the 3 primary teams that we'll consider for this video. That said, she should also be great alongside future anomaly DPS units, as her kit isn't really tied to any other one character. She should work in nearly any disorder comp moving forward. Additionally, sub DPS is a much more versatile role than any kind of on-field main DPS unit, which definitely increases her value, and she could still be used as a general damage over time dealer, although this likely won't be meta as of the current patch. Overall, I'd rate Burnice's versatility middle of the road at about 2.5 out of 5, with the potential to improve as more units are added over time. Next, let's talk about character investment required to achieve optimum potential. Character investment is typically centered around 2 primary areas. The first will be how many skills need to be leveled, and the second will be the importance of disc drive stats to the character's overall utility or damage output. Where Burnice's overall versatility may fall short, her level of investment required for her to function definitely does not. The vast majority of Burnice's damage is going to come from 3 main sources. 1 is going to be damage from her EX special attack by itself, 2 is going to be burn damage from the fire attribute anomaly, and 3 is going to be afterburn damage. For Burnice's core skill, the levels are going to increase the damage dealt by the afterburn effect. Afterburn can trigger 12 times while she's off field and has a maximum multiplier of 350%, making this damage on par with the ultimate ability of a number of characters. For her EX special attack, levels are going to increase the damage and days dealt by the skill, and this skill has pretty high multipliers overall. This is going to be her most used attack. Overall, Burnice is going to be built for anomaly damage, so her abilities won't be a large source of her damage and aren't necessarily worth leveling, and therefore Burnice's damage can be maximized by leveling only 2 skills, which are her core skill and EX skill. As far as disk drives, Burnice wants anomaly proficiency, anomaly mastery, fire damage, attack percent, and energy regen. She definitely could be a high investment character if you want her to be, however she's going to work just fine without it as well. While Afterburn can crit, in general she doesn't really want crit stats, which is definitely going to help out with your farming. Players may run into problems with energy depending on the fight and her W engine selection, so you may find yourself chasing energy substats. However, gave her a dedicated 4-piece disk drive set, and the 2-piece effect is flexible depending on your needs, which could be energy, attack percent, or anomaly proficiency. Overall, I'd say she's a pretty low investment character along with your typical support units while being a kind of sub DPS, and I'd put her at about a 4 out of 5. All right, let's talk character strength. While Burnice likely isn't going to substantially change the strength of anyone's account, she is quite good in the niche that she fills. She's going to be our first off-field damage dealer that requires very little on-field time, which is great. She is by far the best pairing for a disorder team and is going to make Jane Doe teams even more busted than they already are. And she's going to extend the duration of burn by 3 seconds, which is very powerful, giving us better uptime on things like W engine effects and also like the disk drive effect from the Inferno Metal set, while also giving us bigger disorder damage procs. If you didn't already know, disorder damage scales with time remaining in the status. Therefore, increasing the duration of burn means that if disorder is procced 3 seconds after the burn status is applied, the damage will be higher when the burn duration increases from 10 seconds to 13 seconds. Overall, I'd rate Burnice about a 3.5 out of 5 on the strength scale. I can see her being a T0 unit when paired up with Jane Doe specifically. However, otherwise, I think she's going to fall down about a spot on the tier list. And now my favorite category, fun factor, and we'll also include aesthetics in this category. Their flamethrower attack with her EX special attack just feels awesome overall. It looks awesome. It's really fluid. Really fun to use. The spinning flamethrower on her hold normal attack is also really fun. Seeing off-field damage is very satisfying because Burnice's kit is currently the only one that does this, and it feels really unique. Burnice's design is my favorite in Zenless Zone Zero so far. She gives off the combination of cheerleader and biker vibes that is actually kind of unique, and let's just say the devs knew what they were doing when designing this character. For fun factor, I'd give Burnice a 4 out of 5 only because she doesn't have a lot of field time by design. I want to stay on field with her and mow down enemies with her flamethrowers. It's so satisfying, especially the fact that skills track with the enemies. Who knows, maybe in the future we'll have a way to play on-field Burnice, but until then my score stands. My overall rating for Burnice is going to be a 3.6 out of 5, solid character overall. That's going to be all for today. If you guys found this video helpful or informative, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I put out Zenless Zone Zero videos just like this one every single week. I'll see you all soon for the next video.